Welcome back to 8 Cubes, the show where we talk about the 8 most important topics in Marvel Snap. I'm KMBest, he's Lamby series. We're both wearing glasses. It's very difficult to tell us apart. We're going to start with Namorita, a 3/5 that will cost 6,000 collector's tokens on the what am I doing? Why am I talking like this? I'm talking like an announcer. Namorita, new card, 3/5. Whenever this card is alone at a location, the cards you draw get -1 cost.
Oh, that's my cue. Okay,
Yeah,
it's been
that
a
was
while.
your
Yes,
dude. We're blowing it.
it's been 2
This
weeks,
show.
guys. Okay, so Namorita. Okay, I just cannot stop referencing the fact that this sounds like Senorita, but I don't think it's any
Yeah, like
relation.
this
Maybe.
is an ESL moment, right? Where it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
to me, this codes as small Namora. The difference between
Okay.
Senora and Senorita, right? But to you,
Uh,
you're just like, oh, she's Spanish.
I don't want to assume that it's a Spanish word, but it just sounds. But okay, anyway. Yeah, okay. When you draw a card, give it -1 cost if this is your only card here. So this strikes as powerful to me just from the idea that the fact that it's very easy to trigger ability. And it doesn't have like any specific like requirements, like except just being there alone, which is not hard to do, right? So ideally you get to discount like what 3 turns worth of cards, and then with the discounted cards, hopefully you stack her lane with like some of the discounted stuff, so she's no longer alone because she's probably not gonna win a location alone. So like I think this card is good. The only question is like it's always about where the fit is, right? Because you look at all these cards that they've been printing recently that looks like, oh, this just looks generically good, but is generically good enough in the current meta? That's actually the real question, right?
Yeah, I think that right now the metagame is more favorable for a generically good card than it's been
Mm-hmm.
all year, I think. Because we have
Yeah,
these
yeah.
like Kitty Pride decks running around. We have
Mm-hmm.
these techno-organic virus decks running around. We have a lot of these decks where it's like, I actually can just put this in a location and just let it do its thing, and I'm playing a bunch of cheap stuff, and I would love to make it cheaper. And
Yeah.
that is a really notable difference from what I expected the metagame to be when I rated this card when the season was coming out. Because when the season was coming out, we were very combo oriented. Things were very specific. It was like, okay, what does this season actually look like? Well, it looks like something where good card generically isn't really a card that's seeing play. I think the card I
Mm.
want to comp this to is like Copycat. In a
Yeah.
metagame where people are playing Copycat, this is a pretty viable card, and we actually are seeing people play Copycat. In a metagame where people are playing Kitty Pride, I think this is a pretty viable card, and we are seeing people play Kitty Pride. And I'm not sure if that'll make this card good per se, but I am a significant amount more interested in this card coming out in the context that it's coming out now in than I was in the context of this metagame 3 to 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that this card could be really insane in like tech card soup, right? Maybe even in TOV shells and stuff like that. Because the thing about tech cards is like people play around the tech cards at like a certain cost, right? Can you imagine reducing the cost of
Yep.
like a Shadow King randomly? It your Shadow King now fits into combination on the final turn with so many other different things just because it's like one cheaper. It's huge actually. Like the one cost reduction is really huge for all these like tech soup style decks. So I really think that like this card will land really really well.
I don't know if it'll land really well or if it'll be another one of those like Queen of Tier 2 type cards, but I can
Mhm.
definitely see a world where a couple things make this card make sense. Like if this card's release coincides with the Venus, Angela, Bishop, Kitty Pride decks figuring out that they should be playing more tech cards, then suddenly
Mhm.
you could have her being viewed as the engine for that, right? Like, you know what card I really want to discount on the final turn of the game on? I want that discount on Juggernaut. That's a card I would like a discount on,
Mm.
right? Like I would like a discount on Juggernaut or Cosmos so I can just play those. You know what I mean? That's what I would want to do with something like this. Like I want to figure out how to make things airtight. And I think that like there's definitely a world where this card accelerates the development of Venus mid-range decks, which previously I don't have a ton of respect for, in large part because it's the zombie stuff, but there's been some other developments in the space into decks that actually have interactive pieces because it makes them more affordable. And one of the big issues that those decks have is affording the interactive pieces that they would want. And I think Nemorita could actually maybe help with that. The other thing I could see her doing is maybe people just throw her into the Captain Carter combo deck and she's just good. I could very easily believe that
That's
too.
true.
A card I have a lot less faith in is Triton, who releases today, actually, because Grand Arena Massive Melee, which we're going to talk about in the next topic, starts today. Triton is the card in Grand Arena Massive Melee. He is a 3/4 who gives both your and your opponent's last played card on the previous turn +3 power. And I think if you played a lot of card games, when you see a symmetrical effect, your instinct is, if I can't figure out a way to break this symmetrical effect, it is not going to be very good. That is typically how people are meant to play symmetrical effects to win in card games, is to make them asymmetrical. With Triton, there's a couple of ways to do that. Like, obviously, if a buff means more to your deck than to their deck, like if you're buffing a Maverick that's then buffing a stick, well, that's one way to break the symmetry. But the other way to really break the symmetry is to use Triton as a more explicit symmetry breaker, which is to say, you play it on a person who is playing Cerebro and their whole deck actually breaks. So those are the two things I can think I see Triton doing. I gotta say the second one seems a lot more compelling to me than the first.
The Cerebro one is actually hilarious. Like, this is not supposed to be a tech card, but like, it's a anti-Cerebro tech card at the highest possible level. Like, it just destroys, right? It's a 3/4 that destroys the entire deck. So it's hilarious and cool at the same time. No, but one thing I like about this card, when I say I like, I'm just saying I like, not saying I think it's good. But like, one thing I like about what this card does is that there's this illusion, right? Like, for the longest time in Marvel Snap, where if your opponent's location, if your current location is there's 4 cards in there, it's clocked, no more power gets added. You know that thing?
Yeah.
So this adds 3 to a location that seems to be like done. You know, it probably gets you some A cubes here and there, because like people just forget that you can add power to. It's like the blue Marvel thing in a deck that normally doesn't run blue Marvel or whatever. But like, you get my point. So this card has that going for it. So I like that, because it's like a juke or whatsoever. But
yeah,
like,
I like back buffing.
yeah, back buffing. Okay, that sounds cooler than whatever I just said. But like, back buffing, I don't know, man.
I don't
But
know
like,
if anyone else calls it that, but that's what I call it.
back buffing. No one has ever said
I
that
don't
to
think
me in
anyone
my
ever.
life.
Yeah, but like that is what it
I've
is.
never heard that in my
But
life.
like that is what it is. Like that's what's happening. You're passing a buff backwards, right? Like that's like, it's like when you have like a full location and you play Patriot or whatever, right? Like they're expecting to beat the number on the location. I don't know. You
Yes,
back
yes.
buff the location. No one has ever called it this except for me. But
No,
I'm
I
gonna
might
make.
start calling it that because it's cooler than like buff everything something something, and it's shorter as well, like back
Sure.
buffing. Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, this is a good back buffing card, but I don't think it's a good card in general. That's what I'm gonna say.
I do think that it's pretty likely that this card is an incredibly specific tech card. I do think that's like a pretty likely outcome here, where it's like there have definitely been metagames, it's been a while, where Cerebro is a card I wish I had a tech card for. And I do now. Because frankly, as much as Red Skull beats Cerebro, it's not exactly a meaningful tech card in the matchup because it costs 5. You cannot find a lot of decks that can afford to play a 5-cost card that only does something in one matchup. But you can find decks that are willing to play a 3/4 that only does something in one matchup. Like Red Skull, not so much. This card, a little bit more playable, just on base in terms of how this is going to play out. Grand Arena Massive Melee, 21 Grand Arena decks, all made by creators. Notably, none of them made by either of us on this podcast, which is actually what I wanted to talk about, because I've seen some people talking, like, why didn't KM get a deck? Why aren't they giving out these decks to people like KM? Brother, that is exactly correct. You should not let me ruin a Grand Arena game mode like this. You give me a deck, and it's like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to play Mother Ascani. We're going to Grandmaster the Mother Ascani. I'm going to give you something that is polished and well put together and probably will ruin a game mode that is meant to highlight the diversity of Grand Arena. There's 21 different decks. Won't matter. You give me one of those decks, I'm giving you a deck that is one of the 2 you're going to play against. So you really don't want me doing that. But I bring this up to say that the early reception on Grand Arena Massive Melee, we're recording this just before it drops, so this is just people looking at all the deck lists, is that Browday did this, and he did what I would have done here. They gave one to Browday, and he did like Iron Man with Mother Ascani Grandmaster because he's deeply evil, an evil genius. And yep, that the early expectation among high level players is some sort of paraphrasing of Browday ruined the mode. Why would Browday do this? So we'll see how things pan out, but I just thought Lamby should know this.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't know how we were gonna go about this topic because normally when we talk about new
Yeah.
game modes, right, we actually talk about the game mode. But then if this is the direction that we are
Yes.
going, I actually have a lot more to talk about because
Okay.
it's hilarious. So firstly, yeah, they won't give me a that because I haven't been doing this as consistently as a lot of the other creators
Yeah.
recently, so I get it. Secondly, even if I was, they probably also would not give me the option to make the deck because if you look at my history with this game,
You'd ruin
I'm
it.
like semi anti fun. I just give you the deck that wins the game. So that's just like my core. So I get it as well. So even if like they wouldn't have given it to me, and then so since we are on this topic and we are talking about it in this direction, I don't know why they gave Browdy an option as well because for the longest time, give you a bit of history. Okay, so Browdy and I used to compete in the early days of Marvel Snap a lot for like the early 2 years in Marvel Snap. Browdy was always like, Lamby, what deck should I play? What's the best deck? Lamby, what should I play? What's the best deck?
Let me
So
tell you,
now
dude.
you give him the option to give you the best deck. I mean, like, you give him the option. He's just gonna like ask everyone and it'd be like, all right, guys, what's the best deck? I need to make the best deck for this creator thing, guys. And I'm pretty sure that happened, even though I wasn't around. But yes, I'm pretty sure
Let
that
me tell
happened.
you, buddy, nothing has changed about his approach to the game.
Yep. I love Browdy,
It's a
man.
good approach to have, but like, man, you're like, yo, make us a deck for this game mode. He will cook your game mode. He
He will
will
cook your
fry
game mode.
it.
That could be the meme, though. It could be like, Browdy ruined 1 week of Marvel Snap. That's actually funny.
Yeah, I've actually honestly wondered, like, if you're like I would expect that given the contractor position I now have with the company that I would not be involved in any of these in the future. That would be my
Yeah, of course.
expectation. I have no idea if that's true, but it's what I would do if I were my boss, basically, right? That would be
Yeah.
how I would think about this is like, well, Cam probably shouldn't do this. He'd be taking the spot away from someone who like actually it needs it more, right? Like that would be how I would approach this, right? And Browder is definitely a creator that's worth highlighting, but I think there's the second layer here of like, I really would, if I were running this program, which again, I am not, I would focus really heavily on not getting anyone who's super try hard to make these. I would be like, you have to, like, you like, if I had Browder in there, I'd be like, you're legally not allowed to put Mother Ascani in here. Like,
Yep.
you are not allowed to build with Mother Ascani. You know what I mean? Because like, the whole point of this is 21 different decks, all the champions we've ever seen from Massive Melee. But because Grand Arena has so few ways to interact, it typically ends up being about stat piles. And so letting someone like Browday loose on Iron Man, Mr. Multiplication, dangerous. It's dangerous. I do want to give a shout out here to Fudge. I don't know if he did this, but he got the Herbie one, which is another very multiplicative one. And again, I don't know if he actually did this, but from the outside, it kind of looks like he built with the fun of other people in mind, which is to say, like, let's make a deck that's like enjoyable to play against and is not incredibly fully optimized. And we're just like doing some generally engaging gameplay. I was really impressed with that because I felt like Fudge is a good enough player that could have gone either way. Like he could, if you like, it could have gone either way there. But I did want to shout out Fudge on that. You know, props Fudge, slops Browday. How could you? I hope we're all wrong about this, and it's totally fine. But I do think there's like a probably 40% chance that our takeaway from Massive Melee is Browday ruined a week. Much like the apology Browday will undoubtedly be forced to give, I need to issue an apology to Victoria Hand, whom I have referred to repeatedly as a fraud. I've put her on fraud watch. I've said a lot of things that are negative about her. In the last week, the Victoria Hand list I've been playing with Electra, I sorted my lists by net cubes over the last 2 years. It is the highest net cube list in the last 2 years that I've played. I have not played a more successful list than the last few days of Victoria Hand. It hasn't happened.
Okay.
I deeply apologize to Victoria Hand for calling her a fraud, but I would like to point out that it is entirely possible that the only reason she is not a fraud right now is because everything else is even more fraudulent.
Yeah. Okay, so I have no apology to make, obviously, but like my point here, what I'm curious about is, so everything is slightly more fraudulent now, I get, because like we'll probably talk about this later as well. Like there's more like stuff that's relevant
Yep.
right now, and there's things are a bit more wide open, right? So Victoria Hand is probably one of the more tried and true stuff that's a bit more like good or reliable. I think we've said good or reliable for Victoria Hand many times already, right? Um, your net cubes with this deck is the highest ever,
Yeah, do you
which
wanna know?
means,
Yeah. It means people are
okay, so
staying.
yes, that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm trying to say. So people are staying often into Victoria Hand,
Yes.
and my question is why, right? Because net cubes means they're staying. You know,
Yes.
that's basically it.
Yes. Like, this is my thesis, right? If you're playing the TOV deck, all your power is on the board.
Yes,
They see it. If you're playing Victoria Hand, they know you could have been doing something, but they don't
correct.
know what it was you've been
How
doing.
much and
They
what?
don't know
Yeah.
they're getting triple gambited. They are. Like, they don't know they're getting triple Sasquatch. They are. And so, like, I think
So
that, like, in as much as Victoria Hand has an advantage here, it's just that it's the most final turn people can cope stay of these decks.
yep. Wait, I need to interject here. So by definition, because I don't know if you saw your other win rates or whatever, but like any bounce deck technically should have similar,
Dynamics, yeah.
like, yeah, but maybe bounce doesn't have that consistency that
Well,
VN does, because VN's early game is
you're
very
showing
consistent,
them the
right?
bounce cards though, right? So like
But you're also
they
showing them
know,
the duplication
right?
of
But
the
like they
stuff.
know what you have in the bounce deck. Like literally, they've seen it. They don't
Okay,
know what
okay,
I've
okay.
been duplicating. They just know that
Fair,
it's
fair. They don't know
probably
what
that.
and like how many and like what.
Yes.
It could be nothing or it could be a lot, right?
Yes.
Okay, fair.
That's my thesis.
Interesting.
I can't explain this other than to say that people
I do
have
get
been
it though.
staying into Victoria Hand where they are dead way more than I've ever seen anyone stay into any other deck.
Fair. Yeah, because it's similar to bounce, but at the same time, I think there's one more hidden element which you mentioned, which is like they don't exactly know. Like for bounce, they don't know the max output because people can be lazy to count, but it's like all in the deck,
Yep.
right? Whereas for yours, the V-hand case, it's like it's all in the deck, but you don't know exactly what's being multiplied. It could be more than the usual, or even less, or like I get it. Yeah, so
I think
it's
it's a
more one
very
more layer of
copable.
unknown.
I think it's a very copable deck where people will just like cope into it and it'll just be like, why'd you do that? What happened here?
Yeah, it's basically an additional layer of unknown compared to
Yep.
bounce, which I get it. Maybe that's why they keep staying.
I don't know, but it is unbelievable. And also, entire deck still folds to a Mobius. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
If people
yeah.
start playing that card more, I will have to change the deck. I don't want to. I don't want to make any mistakes about that. Like it's a very strong deck right now, but if people start playing Mobius, the Sasquatch goes immediately. Like we're done here. This is a super open metagame, though. Like I don't think I have a clear idea of what the best deck is. I know what I've been succeeding with. It's the V hand decks and the Loki decks. Like that's what I've been winning with. But
Mhm.
I don't think that necessarily means they're the best decks. It just means those are the ones I've like got the most time on and played the most of, and that's not necessarily the same thing. I feel like what this metagame lacks is a clear best mid-range deck and a clear best combo deck. And it's kind of the first time in 6 months that we haven't known at least one of those things for a
Mm.
fact. Like we've had metagames where it's like, well, I'm not sure what the clear best combo deck is, and well, I'm not sure what the clear best mid-range deck is, but we've never had one where it's been both. It's been Sholau, it's been Star-Lord, it's been
Mhm.
TOV. We haven't ever been in a space where both of those spaces are mostly unoccupied. Like there's contenders, but the analogy I used was it's sort of like post Gold Roger, where like Victoria Hand is Whitebeard, not actually the king of the pirates, but like in
Wait.
front of the throne. And that's sort of what it feels like right now.
So she's Victoria Hand is
Yes.
gatekeeper for the new age until the new age
Yes.
comes
Yes.
up to par.
Yes. That's exactly
Which
it.
actually makes a lot of
Yes.
sense, by the way. Like if you use the One Piece
Yep.
analogy, that's actually pretty good. Like on that note, because you mentioned Loki a bit earlier as well, I feel like these kind of Loki pals. Okay, firstly, I think Namorita could fit in a Loki pal. That's
Sure.
what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, but I think when Loki powers are like decent, it means that the metagame is kind of like wide open because Loki powers generally don't have like a ton of stats, but it's just like you get like more stuff to play with Loki powers a lot
Well,
of the
I
time. So
mean,
yeah, I
a
get it as
lot of
well.
that is TOV, right? Like
Yeah, it's mainly TOV. Yeah, it's mainly
they
TOV.
supplement the stats because TOV is there and Loki's just like hanging around. I don't know.
Mhm.
I feel like development of the TOV deck stopped a week ago, and I
Okay.
don't think it should have. Like, I don't think that deck
Why
is
do you-
fully cooked. I think it's like a deck that like came out of the oven too early because it was good enough early enough.
Mhm.
And now I don't know if people are like really working and cooking on that one the way they should be. Because like whenever I play it,
Just
I feel like something's
so you're
missing.
saying it can go taller.
Yes,
Is what
like
you're
I
trying to
play it and
say.
I'm like, I don't know what's wrong here yet. I need to keep playing it to
Mhm.
figure out what's wrong, but I do know something is wrong. I am
Maybe there was
positive
never
something's
a
wrong.
reason for it to go taller, but maybe there is now, right?
I
Because
don't
like with the
know.
slight nerf and all that kind of thing.
Like I can feel something being wrong about it that I haven't been able to put my finger on just yet, but I know it's there.
Mhm.
Now, I don't want to necessarily issue a second apology in this episode. For the other card I've called a fraud, Venus. But I'm gradually gaining a lot of respect for Venus as a card that can maybe allow me to cope some Bishop Angela stuff. I
Mhm.
have not a ton of respect for the zombie Venus stuff. I think that's just like pretty actively bad. And when that was the most of what Venus was doing, pretty bad card. But Venus in Aurora, a deck that has Spider Ham and Cosmo and ways to interact, and Venus in the Bishop decks, which again are solo curve that they can add ways to interact. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I had a Bishop deck on next week's tier list that was like Namorita, Cosmo, Juggernaut in the Venus shell. I wouldn't be shocked if I did that, right? Like, that seems like a thing I would do. That seems like a thing I would do. But largely the thing that Venus decks are lacking is relevant interaction, and it's because they're unpolished. They are all about maximizing output right now, and what they
Mhm.
should be about is maximizing interaction and figuring out what your core of maximal output is and then what is flexible.
Okay, wait. For the first time in a while, I actually didn't really fully understand that. But what do you mean by maximizing interaction here? Like, I think for some of the viewers that might not
Okay,
actually
so
get it as well.
Venus decks are never going to be the biggest point decks in the game.
Agree.
They cannot afford to have no interaction. They are not
Right. Oh,
allowed to
because,
do that.
because they cannot be the biggest points deck, so you need them to have like
Correct.
the ability to stop the opponent
Yes.
from doing
If you are not
things.
stopping your opponent from going over the top of you, playing one of those like mid-rangey green points decks, if you're not doing something,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I just don't think you're a real deck. Like, that's just how I feel. If you are a deck that has the same amount of tech as Zombie Galacti, which is to say
Mm-hmm.
none, and you do less
Right.
points than them, well, you're gonna
And what's the point,
lose.
right?
Yeah, like
And what's the
why are
point?
you doing that, right? And to me, I think that where those decks want to be is using Venus to supplement a small core of tech pieces, right? You like what TOV used to do was supplement the ability to run tech because your points were so efficient. Find the most efficient points packages and then do those with some interaction.
Hmm. Interesting. So basically, what you're trying to say is that like doesn't okay. So my the thing funny thing, doesn't this feel like we are just trying to like force the okay in a TFT term? Are we just trying to force the Venus comp? Like it's
Yes.
just like oh, it's
Yes.
just a yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
I'm
Wait,
not
so
even
this
I'm not
whole
even
topic
like
is a
no. Like, yeah, I'm absolutely trying to do this. Like,
okay.
that is absolutely what I'm trying to do. Yes. Yes, take a
I was
lesson
trying to
from how
figure
other
out the point
successful
of
decks
this
are
a
built.
bit.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are just trying to force the Venus comp. So this is the topic. Okay, so for people that want to force the Venus comp,
Yep.
this is the direction.
But like
Okay, I
what
get
I'm
it
getting
now.
at here is if that's doable, then she's not a fraud, right?
Correct, correct.
Like if that's actually a thing that can happen, then she's not a fraud. It's not her fault. It's deck building.
Right.
And it's solvable.
Okay.
And this is the first time this whole month I've been like, oh, I think there's actually a solve here. Because every other Venus
Mm.
deck everyone's been playing, it's just been like, here's a bunch of green power. It's like, okay, well, there's a bunch of decks that do that. Like, that's fine.
And do it
Like,
better as well.
yes.
Yeah.
And I guess this brings me to a sort of thing in Marvel Snap I've been thinking a lot about. There's two types of decks in Marvel Snap. There's decks that play interaction and decks that don't. And if you're a deck that doesn't play interaction, you are, thanks to the brilliant design of Marvel Snap, and I'm barely even glazing here, you're still a deck that can win games based on positioning. But that is your only out. If you are a deck that actually has those interactive pieces in there, that's a really good thing. Because the best way to counter a deck in Marvel Snap is not to play the tech card that it's weak to, but to play a deck that just fundamentally outpowers it on every axis across every game. Zombies versus Zombie Galacti is actually a great example of how this plays out. If the Zombie Galacti player does the thing they want to do, you lose. You just can't beat it. There's nothing you can do. Mr. Negative versus a lot of things is like that. If they do what they're trying to do, you lose across lanes, right? If you're both in the same range of output, you're playing a real game of Marvel Snap. You are doing positioning-based things, and then suddenly things like Juggernaut become really important, things like Cosmo become really important, Priority becomes really important. And this has sort of always been the premise of Supergiant, which is basically the Supergiant package is built to make the only thing that matters who has the cards with the biggest numbers on them, and then play a bunch of the cards with the biggest numbers on them. That's kind of always been what Supergiant does. Define the game on the terms that it is favorable, that are favorable to the other cards you play, right? Like, that's the goal. And this kind of thinking, I just think that there are a lot more decks that can benefit from taking the lesson of Supergiant than the reverse. And I think a lot of people who play Marvel Snap, it's like, I want to play 12 cards. These are all cool. 12 cards that do my engine. I think overwhelmingly people would be better suited saying, I am not the biggest guy out there. There is a guy out there who is bigger than me. And I need plans that deal with the guy out there who is bigger than me.
I think to reference the whole like smart positioning thing, because I do agree, right? There are a lot of games in outside of just like pure power is won by smart positioning as well, right? I mean, since the dawn of time, we've been talking about like over allocating to one battlefield, to one location and stuff like that. Yeah, so I do think that is relevant, but at the same time, I mean, in the context of like good decks, right? You also have to have this like you have to be this tall to ride thing. Like if you don't have enough power or points, regardless, no matter how good your positioning is, it's not gonna be enough. Like the whole like positioning well thing is like after your deck actually has enough like juice to actually beat people on average, So there's just one thing I wanted to highlight.
Last up, I mean, I'm gonna say this every time Juggernaut's in a metagame. This card's too strong. This card's just too strong. I get it. Like, maybe it's not across levels. I know this is my most high elo pilled take, but I don't know. Can we try like a 5-6 Juggernaut or something? Like, I am sick of this guy. Every time there's like a really good 2-drop, in this case, Techno-Organic Virus, it's like, well, let's play Juggernaut with that. My final turn. It's Juggernaut Techno-Organic Virus, and that's my bad draw. Oh my god, what a card. What an absolute monster of a card. He's been a monster for years now. He remains a monster, and I find it hard to envision a version of him that isn't kind of a monster regardless. This guy's a beast.
Yeah, I mean, like this topic is actually super cool because it kind of links with a bit of like what I wanted to say, what I said in the like previous topic as well, which is like if your deck has like the ability to like if your deck is like this tall enough to ride with like the big boys, right? The Juggernaut probably just like pushes it over the top, right? Because like this is where like you throw your opponent's potential positioning out of the window, right? Like Juggernaut's effect is so unique in itself, in which like it's the way Marvel Snap is structured, right? You need to win 2 locations, and then Juggernaut invalidates like a lot of that, right? Juggernaut's ability just invalidates like your opponent's positioning a lot of the time, and like it rewards like having priority, having like all that kind of stuff. So I think Juggernaut's effect is it's really unique and also like uniquely destructive because of what Marvel Snap is as a game, right? Like you are supposed to stick stuff in locations, but Juggernaut just invalidates that when you have priority.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I've been KMBest. He's been Lamby Series, and he's about to take us out.
All right, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.